So yesterday, a brand new patch for Deadlock came out, and it's pretty insane. So today, we wanted to give you the big juice of it all so that you don't have to watch a 43-minute video of the patch notes breakdown. Over the next coming days and weeks, we'll break some of these things down in further detail and keep you up to date with anything that updates as well. But if you'd like to read the full notes, the link is down in the description below. Firstly, a new Hero Labs hero has been added, whose name is Trapper. Obviously, as you can tell by the picture, there are spiders involved, and many were commenting that their arachnophobia was kicking in. So this one's going to be interesting. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel because we'll soon break down these abilities and when Trapper might be coming to the real game. Also, big news, Soul Rebirth has been removed from the game completely. Removing an item completely from a game is not necessarily common in most games, and Dirk made a fair point that it was kind of funny because if you've been following this item, you'll know that they've adjusted it like every single patch, but now it just feels like they're giving up on it. Time to get rid of it. A new feature in the shop is now known as Quick Buy. They've added Quick Buy where you can right click items in the shop and you'll add them to your Quick Buy menu so that when you return to the shop, you'll automatically purchase the items you can afford in your set order. An indicator on the HUD will light up whenever you can afford the next item on your list. In settings, you may be able to change the purchase mode to use a hotkey while in range of the shop rather than auto purchase if you don't want to spend that money. Now, we've also got some balance changes for some of the heroes. Number one, Viscous, where the cube health regen now scales with Spirit at 0.2. Also, with Viscous's Goo Ball, the down dash ability has been moved from tier 3 to base ability. Viscous's Goo Ball size now increases with range upgrades, doesn't affect collision with world though, and here's the demonstration visually so you can see what that looks like.
Channeling protoplasm.
And lastly, with Viscous, they fixed some hit detection issues with the Goo Ball as well, but then we move on to Haze. Haze Bullet Dance no longer hits 2 targets. Bullet Dance now also grants plus 30% fire rate. Bullet Dance also now allows you to use items during it. This one's a big one because there are many items out there that are practical, including Warp Stone, which you can use with her ult. Take a look at what Warp Stone will look like. So while there are some nerfs to Haze, there's also some buffs here. I think these are important to know. Also with Haze, the Sleep Dagger tier 3 now also causes targets to wake up with negative 40% fire rate. That's going to be extremely annoying, especially if you're building late game fire rate with someone like Wraith. Now, another important update with McGinnis is that the mini turrets DPS have now been reduced from 60 to 40. Also, McGinnis also now has mini turrets health reduction from 20% max HP to 15%. This is pretty good considering McGinnis got a nice buff in the last one and I was not too happy. So all you McGinnis mains out there can hate me, but I think this was deserved. Now, Paradox got a lot of changes and I feel like this is kind of following suit of the pattern they've always had with Paradox, but the bullet velocity increase is now going to 525 instead of 411. Paradox also now has Time Wall no longer having charges. Time Wall also no longer deals 10% max health damage, and Time Wall cooldown has been reduced from 37 seconds to 25 seconds. So they're really just completely changing the way that this ability has been used, I feel like. Also, the Time Wall tier 2 now deals 10% max health damage, and with Kinetic Carbine, max damage amp increased from 85% to 100%. And lastly, with Paradoxical Swap, time to complete the swap has been reduced from half a second through a second and a half to 0.3 to 0.6 of a second. Obviously, that time variable is based on the distance you are away from the target. Some other important updates include hero stats on the left side of the HUD are now hidden by default and can be viewed by holding Alt or Tab. And when a stat is temporarily increased or decreased, it will show by default for the duration. They also added a hover tooltip descriptions to stats on the left side of the HUD, which I think is a nifty little feature. Also, this is important to know, they have now moved 8 neutral camps, 4 on each side, from outside the outer lanes behind the walkers to in between the inner and outer lanes as well. So you can see some of these on top of the roof. And I think it's important to look at this map, get an idea as to where these jungles are, or neutral camps, whatever you want to call them. Because if you're trying to optimize your gameplay and make sure that you're keeping enough souls, especially in the downtime, you want to know exactly where they are like the back of your hand. You probably have until these get updated. So make sure you know where these new ones are. Also, now another update. Troopers now take 28% more damage from Guardians. Walker's damage versus player increased by 10%, which is funny because Guardians had an increase on player damage as well a couple patches ago. And Guardians will now focus their attack on enemy players if an enemy player shoots a hero and the enemy is within 15 meters of the Guardian. This is no surprise. This is literally almost how like every single MOBA game works. And I was surprised that Deadlock didn't have something like this. When you're talking about lane-based games, I cannot think of a single game that doesn't follow this practice besides Deadlock. I've always been surprised that it didn't have this. So this is no surprise. Matter of fact, I'm glad that you see this, because I feel like you should be playing around your Guardian like that. You shouldn't be worried, especially in the early game, that you're going to get someone who's extremely ape heavy and just going to chow on your Guardian and do something crazy. This has always been something I wasn't a big fan of, so I'm glad that they changed this. Also, they added cosmic veils to the ground floor entrances to mid that grant vision looking in but block vision looking out. So a couple things that you're used to in this game may have changed, so just be on the lookout with these patch notes. Of course, if you want to stay up to date with what's going on in all of these patch notes, make sure to like and subscribe. There are a little bit more. You can click down in the link if you want to read all of them. Just wanted to pull out some of the biggest things that I thought were important so that you didn't have to go watch a 40-minute video about what all the patch notes are where they just juice it. Anyways, to stay up to date with all things inside the world of Deadlock news, update, drama, stories, and more, like and subscribe. And until the next time, we'll see you all later.